Alright everybody, how you doing? Miserable weather. Rain's literally just stopped and just going to come out and do the filter clean. But sorry about the last video, it was a little bit long, I know, but it was the only fair way of doing it for everybody who attended the day. So, you know, if they wanted to sort of see themselves and see them drawing the fish, so I had to try and cut it down as fair as possible. If I just left it all uncut, like I said, it was about 4 hours. So yeah, it was a long one, but normal service is resumed. New fish are settled in okay. I'll spin you around and have a look. So yeah, there's one of them, and the other one right underneath. And they are not shy in coming forward when it comes to food at all. They are all over it, not afraid to take the big boys on whatsoever. So yeah, no, like I said, they seem quite happy, seem to have settled in, and I've not lost anybody up the skimmer, which I was half expecting, because it does happen when I get new fish sometimes of that sort of size. They tend to go floating, exploring, and ended up in the skimmer, and I come home and I'm like, well, where are they gone? Lift the skimmer lid off and they're sat there in the skimmer box. But yeah, everybody's settling in a little bit. As expected, the ammonia has gone up a bit, not a lot. So I'm just waiting for the filters to catch up. Cut back on the feed a little bit, which is not the ideal when you've got a growing show competition. Yummy there. Somebody was asking about Yummy, saying they were going to buy the same fish when it came up for sale, but I'd already sort of like put my deposit down on it. And so you can see, doing rather well. Even since the last measure up, I reckon I've put a good 5 cm, if not more on. It's really climbing the size on. So at the end of the season, I'll probably get him out and do another measure up at the end. But anyway, I need to get out. I've got a break in the weather and clean the filters before it absolutely honks it down again. What's happened to summer? Week and a half of sunshine, that's a lot. Just hoping that's not it for this year. Right, see you in a minute. That's the filters clean. Typical, isn't it? As soon as I finish cleaning the filters, the sun comes out and it's a little bit windy, but a lot better than what it was earlier. Now, remember, just a minute ago I was saying that none of the fish, the new ones, the new kahakus I got from Madam Buyer, had gone into the skimmer. Well, cleaned the Nexus, done sort of like 3 empties on that, 3 boils, obviously because it gets absolutely filthy, because I'm not doing the cleaning regime that I should be doing, because I work away all week. If I had my way, it'd be every other day, but yeah, I'm lucky if I'm getting twice a week in the way work is at the moment, because I'm not getting a home at all during the week, which is why I need a drum. But not getting anywhere with saving the pennies at the moment. Life's getting in the way, but I will get there. Not unless anybody's got one out there they don't want, you know, throw my way, you know, please, yeah, you know. But ain't gonna happen. But anyway, yeah, so I'd just cleaned the Nexus, just filled it, just topping up the pond before I cleaned the skimmer out, and I'm having a little look-see at the fish. And you know, when you look at your own pond, you know, you automatically, you're like, hold on a minute, where's such and such? So I went bounding round to the skimmer, lifted off the skimmer lid, and there he is sat there in the skimmer now. But the problem is that when I drain the Nexus sort of like 3 times, the water level drops below the skimmer line, so he was literally just sat in a puddle of water. Thankfully, nothing wrong with him. Hooked him out, chucked him straight back in the pond and that, and he's swimming around quite happily. He says, can you see him? Yeah, these are right. Yeah, so I'll spin you around and we'll have a look. So, luckily, it wasn't my grow and show one. Not, you know, it was happening. He was off exploring and obviously got himself trapped in there. You know, all the others have learnt their lesson, and you know, they only just go in and then spin around, but obviously you decided to keep on going and see what was around. But there's Obi, gone really dark on the brown now, as they do in summer. You can hardly see him in the water when he goes down there. Don't know whether it's showing up on camera how dark he's gone to what his normal winter colour in this. Chad, I think, is having a bit of a growing spurt. He's, you know, he's never going to be the biggest of chags. Sorry, charasuris, but he's had a bit of a growing spurt. Well, they all have this year, but I do think that's because of the air source heat pump. You know, my pond hasn't really got that hot by itself, and temperatures today are only, I think, 16. It was when I went out in the car to do a bit of shopping, and so obviously I'm tracking. Well, I'm keeping it at 23, so it is coming on during the day and night. Just a pure experiment to see what it costs me. Obviously it's more efficient during the summer because there's warmer air to heat up than it is winter. But it does seem to be making a difference on the growth. I'm putting the same amount of food as I did in the previous years. But the higher temperatures and keeping it stable at those higher temperatures, you see the air source heat pump's on now at the moment. That's why they're just sat there by the outlet. I mean, the actual pond itself isn't cold, it's only dropped about half a degree, but they're sat there enjoying the warm air that's coming through. Strange creatures. But yeah, so, you know, just see what it costs me, especially with the energy price rises. And it's something I started doing a bit of research on, actually, is the with all the global warming and energy and stuff like that. I'll be doing a video on sort of like, you know, the costs of cod keeping and how sort of like energy efficient a lot of the equipment is and what our carbon footprint would be on the planet. But that's going to take some doing to do that. Anyway, catch you in a minute. Oh, hello children, and welcome to Chakanori. Remember Chakanori? Or I'm the only old git round here who remembers it. Used to love it. Anyway, bring it a bit closer. So, remember a couple of videos ago, I was talking about the biofilms, bacteria and filter media, and I was breaking it down into 2 parts. So, yeah, bringing back part 2. So we established what a biofilm was. We established that there's more bacteria species. Oh, excuse me. In fact, there's thousands of different types of bacteria species that are friendly, and we have in our filter systems. And in fact, that the 2 names that are normally bandied about are virtually non-existent in our modern filters and filtration systems. So, you know, a bit of the old boy myths sort of like staying with us a bit out of date. Anyway, so moving on. So like I said, we're establishing we need a biofilm, so we set up a filter and put in filter media, looking to provide the bacteria and the biofilm with the ideal situation for where they live. Now let's take an ordinary piece of filter media up here, like, yeah, so it's the, you know, the normal sort of like generic round piece of media, a couple of little crisscrosses in it, little holes and things like that, which is what is providing homes for the biofilm to form, and for the bacteria to move in and start doing its business. But if you look at the filter media a bit closer, let's break it down into zones. So if you have a look on, say, the outside of the piece of filter media, they're all sort of like standard the same, you know, just a round circumference outside, a few little ridges. Now this is where you get the adventure seeking forms of bacteria moving into the parkour runners, the skydiving types, you know, those sort of like, yeah, bring it on, I'll face anything types of bacteria, because they like to live in the environment where it's hectic. So when you put it into your moving beds, obviously the outside edges are the ones that are colliding into each other, you know, smashing, knocking off any sort of like debris, any weak or dying or dead bacteria, smashing it off. So the forms of bacteria that like to live there, like, you know, it's called the busy zone, as they call it. So you're right out there in the airline, in the air, sort of getting smashed about, you know, standing there, come on, give it to me, you know, and then sort of like the weak bacteria is all knocked off. It's only where the strong survive. So, you know, little piece of weak bacteria goes flying off, and it's like, oh, Charlie's gone, he was weak anyway, sort of thing, you know. So that is sort of like one zone. So like I said, it's there you'll find only the strongest bacteria surviving. But come inside that, and then you have what they call sort of like the safe zones, or sort of thing. So this is where you're more sort of like Mr. and Mrs. bacteria like to come in, build their sort of little bit of home, but they're city dwellers, you know, they don't mind being sort of like in the busy bozzy worlds there, but like to have their little dwelling where they can set the outside world out. And that's what you get, the little chambers on the inside of your bacteria. This is where they tend to set at home and, you know, thrive, multiply and set to work about doing their sort of bit of business. But they do also tend to share this with other creatures, the giants of the filter world, as in the forms of rotifers. And rotifers sort of come in many varied forms. 80% of them are cannibalistic and feed on other rotifers. But they all provide an important part of the filtration system by digesting the larger pieces of detritus that actually comes their way, and then sort of like giving off a waste product which then the bacteria deal with. And you know, the little crawling around ones are the ones sort of like that move around. But then you also get rotifers that are shaped like elongated bells or flower trumpets, and these are mainly sort of like filter feeders, so they will just sit there and just suck in anything that passes, and then again produce waste which then your bacteria deal with. So as you can sort of see, you know, your filter media just isn't a home for bacteria, it's sort of like providing, it is its own ecosystem. And so you've got these safe zones where they're sort of like but like I said, they don't mind the hustle and bustle of being chucked about in the water, but as long as they're sat inside their nice little 2 up 2 down inside, away from the hurly-burly, then they're quite happy. But also there is bacteria that sort of like to have this environment as well, but not with the hurly-burly. They like to be sort of like in a sort of like a static area. So when you get your static beds, which we consider mainly to be for mechanical filtration, there is also a lot of bacterial activity going on in there. You know, they like to be there in sort of like the quiet zone, sort of like where the water's just gently passing through, and they can sit there and do their business and digest all the bad stuff, you know, from our ponds. So, you know, we all sort of tend to concentrate on having, you know, say a drum or sieve and then a moving bed, but the static bed is sort of something that sort of seems to be falling sort of like on the by and by, and it's like I said, many people just consider it to be for mechanical filtration, but it's, you know, scientific evidence is there to say that actually, you know, it does hold important bacteria. And if you're going to have an ideal situation, an ideal setup, then maybe you're going to have sieve, static bed, then moving bed. Food for thought. Yeah, all right, a little bit more expense, but you know, it's an extra chamber. You know, probably this is why the old multi-bays were so successful in doing what they were doing. You know, you can't deny how effective they were at filtration when they were set up correctly. So maybe a bit of food for thought there, that maybe you need to sort of like include a static bed with your sort of like your K1 micro or your K plus or your Helix or your KK1000 or whatever it is. You know, maybe sort of setting up an extra bed to get the optimal sort of like biological filtration for your pond. It's not going to hurt, is it? Yeah, you're going to need an air stone in there for agitation for when you're cleaning, to do a clean, like a, well, I suppose like a nexus, the center section of a nexus. You know, it's there, it does a mechanical job, and that's what we consider it to be about. But if you look at your media and that lot, it gets in the center section, you've probably got more of a biofilm on that than what you have on your moving bed. So, you know, there is biological activity going on there, you know, no matter how small. So yeah, so maybe something worth considering in the future is to have sort of like a moving bed, a static bed, and mechanical filtration before the two. Now the thing is with sort of like many forms of these in the moving bed, the thing is they need oxygen, not just for you know, for splashing the media about and breaking off the weak bacteria and the dead bacteria. It's also required for the bacteria to live. The ones that live in these zones prefer highly oxygenated water. Now they will die very quickly once the oxygen's turned off. So when you're cleaning your filters and, you know, you turn your oxygen off for a little while or something like that while you're giving it a clean, you've got to keep that to a minimum, because like I said, once they start to die, even once the oxygen's turned back on, it can be sort of like a card effect, and it'll just keep on tumbling until it sort of steadies itself and starts building back up again. So you know, you may get sort of a nitrate spike or an ammonia spike because of this. So just a point to remember is when you got your filters, when you're cleaning your filters and you turn your O2 off and you're moving beds and that lot, keep it as minimal as possible, because it doesn't take long for those bacteria to start dying. So there's the three zones. So like I said, so you've got your busy zone, your quiet zone, your protected zones, and your quiet zones. Now all three of these, you know, hold different forms of bacteria, and all these bacteria work either individually or in conjunction with other bacteria to provide, you know, the cleanest water in terms of respect of ammonia, nitrate and nitrates that we can possibly get. But you know, normally when you talk about bacteria, you talk about aerobic and anaerobic and anoxic, and we've covered, you know. Now anoxic is like the big one where you can get rid of the nitrates, which is always the difficult one. And you know, traditional way of dealing with it is with plants in your pond, and you know, they take up the nitrates out of your pond and just give off CO2 at night, sort of thing. But obviously with koi ponds, it's not always, I mean, there's plenty of koi ponds out there with sort of like that are planted up quite well, but you know, most of us tend to find that if you're going to put plants in with koi, it doesn't tend to end well. You know, the koi would destroy everything you're putting in there. Yeah, you can have sort of like separate sort of like runoff where you've got the sort of like, they call bog filters and things like that, if you've got the space. And there is also, I think you go on Mankey Sankey's site, it shows you how to use cat litter. Yeah, just when I was doing research on this, I sort of came across that and I couldn't believe it. But yeah, cat litter, going around outside of, so you have a plant pot, line that with cat litter, then a little bit of aquatic soil, and then you put your plant in the middle of that, and that's supposed to be, you know, one of the best anoxic filtration systems you can set up. But again, it involves putting plants in your pond. So what tends to happen now, and I don't know whether many people who sort of like buy a shower know this, but showers will provide you a reasonable amount of nitrate filtration, and this is because if you're using the right ceramic media, you know, BHM and stuff like that, if you look at it, the hole, when you look into the holes, it's just not a little hole and it stops. The holes run all the way in, and they little tunnels, and they go around a bit like an ant's nest or something like that. Now, the bacteria that sort of like actually gets down and into these holes and sort of like lives out of the way down there, sort of like not absolutely being drowned out of water, and they're not highly oxygenated, and you know, it's a real quiet zone. They are the ones that will deal with nitrate, and I noticed a huge difference when I added my shower to my nitrate readings. I mean, out of the water, I think I was getting something like about 80 parts per million. I mean, it's something daft straight out of the tap. But now, sort of, you know, I've still got a reading. I mean, I haven't got 0, but I've still got a reading, and but it's a hell of a lot lower. It's sort of like up about sort of like between 10 and 15 parts per million. So, you know, it's obvious that the shower does something. Oh, sorry, cut that last segment a bit abruptly short. I had come to the end of what I was saying, but my Jakey, regular viewers who know Jake, my dog, and that lot, he went a bit wobbly on his legs, so I was looking after him. He's going down veterinaries tomorrow, just to get checked out. He's got a bit of a weak back right leg. He can't put his weight on it, and he's a bit wobbly. Not too bad when he's out for his walk, but you know, when he comes back, he's a bit wobbly on it. So he is 12, he's getting on a bit now, so he aches and pains, so, you know, like just like us, they all come. So, but yeah, I'm gonna get him checked out to be safe and sorry. But they say it doesn't rain, but it pours. So I got home from work. Oh, he's a bit of a bleeder, but I always say that on this channel I'll show you the bad as well as the good. So I come home from work and I just turn the air off and have a look at my koi, and one of my favourite fish, the ochiba, has got Popeye, or I think it's Popeye. Never had it before. Spin you around, we'll have a look. He's bled from his gills, so it's more likely a female. So if you can look on the eyes there, both sides, so it's definitely not an injury, but as you can see on the body, there's no raised scales, or not yet, so it's not dropsy. I mean, superb fish, really is. Apart from that, come on, spin round. Yeah, so you can see now many reasons can cause that. It can be a bacterial issue, water quality issue, parasite issue, 101 things. There's no hard and fast rule. It used to be a case that it was a bad water quality was the only thought, but nowadays there's sort of like all sorts of things. It can be a liver problem, or it can be a tumour, but not generally on both sides. Generally on both sides it's possibly, more than likely, a bacterial infection. Nothing visible on the outside of the koi. I ain't checked underneath. I check underneath. I'm just holding this camera at the moment, so but yeah, I hope I can sort this out, because it can be fatal, Popeye, depending on what it is. Now, I'm in two minds. There's definitely a bleeder, look, from the gills. Two minds. I'm do some water tests. I've got to clean the filters. I'm going to do some water tests, check the parameters and everything like that. And like I said, I was not having mega ammonia issues. I mean, I'm sort of sat at about 0.05. So it's nominal, really is nominal amounts. If I just use a liquid test kit, it would be, you know, it'd be showing up as 0 ammonia and 0 nitrate, but on the nanometers, you know, it's showing up as 0.0556, something like that, you know. So there is a trace element there, but I don't think it's that. Quite possibly a bacterial issue. Summer. So I'm debating on whether dose in the pond was the marker flavin, and hopefully having it in the pond will help out whatever's inside there. You know, in this country, in the UK, it's so hard to get antibiotics for your koi, and like I said, there's no guarantee it is a bacterial issue, because, you know, all I can see is the popped eyes. It could be anything. So first port of call is make sure water quality is absolutely spot on. I think I'll cut the feed right out. I'm going to check the gills in a minute and just have a look in the gills, make sure the gills are fine. There's not any signs of flashing or anything going on, so I don't think there's any parasite issues. I may take a scrape. I don't want to stress it out too much on top of what it is. In fact, I think I put a little drop of stress coat in. Just calm it down. But the rest of them seem okay, and when I looked at the pond the other day, it was okay. This has literally just come on over 2 days. Yeah, 2 days. I've done a filter clean Tuesday night. Yeah, Tuesday night. I'm just about to do another one now. But oh, the joys. Sometimes you just think about packing it all in, don't you? You know, you get really attached. I can't see any problems with anybody else. The only change to the pond really is adding the new Allen Biofish, but they seem okay. Everybody else seems okay. I know I'm overstocked before anybody says it. I do know that, but I am over filtered, and I'm going to the BKKS, the national show at Coventry this weekend, and hopefully I'll be able to get some K+, another 25 litres of K+. I'm going to add to my filter, just to add a bit more biological to help deal with these problems. And I've got a bit of algae growing, but like I said, nobody else seems to be suffering any problems, and like I said, in himself, Obi, is, you know, he's eating and feeding quite happily. I don't think there's any sight issues. He's full of beans. Come on. Yeah, it's like, you know, I'm not sure if it is both eyes. Anybody got any suggestions before I go slamming some arcaflavin in there, or chloramine tea? Get back to me. I might go to. I thought I had some arcaflavin and I haven't got any, and I've got some chloramine tea, but it's probably about 2 years old. So I might check the date on it, but I'm a bit dubious. I might wait until I go up to the National and see what I can pick up there. So hopefully I'll have time to get a few comments from you guys out there, because every day is a school day. I don't know everything by a long way. So hopefully you guys can help me out and give me the best solution. I'll get on and do the water tests and I'll let you know. So I used my liquid test kits just very quickly. Ammonia, nitrate. Trust me, that is yellow. And obviously you can see that's the blue, and sort of like a yellowy sort of like, not quite, so between 0 and 5 parts per million, so pretty good on the nitrate. So obviously the Hannah's given me a little bit of a reading on both for the ammonia and nitrate, but as a quick test, yeah, I'm happy with that. So it's obviously not my water chemistry, but I don't think the pH I've tested, that's fine. So I just need to well, so done tests, water tests, done scrape on Obi, come back clean, couldn't see anything on that. So my only conclusion is that it's probably a bacterial issue. Whether it's just he's got a bacterial issue or the whole pond's got a bacterial issue is another thing. So I don't really know what to do on that front, whether to treat the whole pond, chloramine tea, or like I said, arcaflavin, one of those two. Like I said, individual, you know, antibiotic koi food. Every other country in the world, not a problem, you can get hold of it. This country, like rocking horse poo. So I just don't get what the problem is in this country. But anyway, like I said, I'm going to the National Sunday, so hopefully nothing untoward will happen then, and I can have an ask around, speak to a few experts up there on their advice, speak to my friends when I see them. And hopefully be able to pick up something up there, up at the National, antibiotic wise, and fingers crossed be able to sort it out. You know, I jinxed it last week. I was saying that Obi was doing fantastic and he's one of my favourite fish. I think I jinxed it, but like I said, he's alright in himself. It's just a Popeye sort of side of things, so you know, hopefully it's just sort of like just a little bit of inflammation. I'll turn the auto feeder off. I'm not going to feed them for a few days. Yeah, great, get 2 new fish that you're trying to grow for the growing show, and you stop feeding altogether. But fish health is more important than the show, so get that sorted. Alright guys, so like I said, hope to see you at the National. Take care, look after yourselves. I'm going to cut this short now. I'm going to go put my head in my hands and cry. Alright, look after yourselves, and remember, it ain't a hobby, it's a lifestyle. Oh dear. Alright, catch you soon. Bye.